Good morning, first grade artists. This is Mrs. Langless here with another remote art project for you this week. And today, because we're getting ready for one of my favorite holidays this weekend, Halloween, and also because it is still fall, we're going to learn how to use lines to draw pumpkins. So I'm really excited to show you how to do this. Here's an example of what your art could look like when you're all finished. Let's get started. So what you'll need first is a piece of paper and a pencil. We're not going to be painting this one, so it doesn't necessarily need to be your project paper. So whatever, blank white paper you have around is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a white piece of paper. And let's get started. All right, so our very first step is that we are going to use a curving line to make an open circle shape. So I'm going to start right down here on my paper, and I'm just going to make a big curve that comes all the way up and then back down and then is open. Now you'll notice mine is not a perfect circle. I'm going to shift over my paper here because I'm noticing I'm not right in the center. You'll notice mine is not a perfect circle, and that's fine because if you've ever been out hunting for pumpkins before, you'll notice that they're all kinds of odd shapes, and they're not necessarily perfectly round. So however you draw that curving line is fine. Leaving our bottom open because we're going to make our pumpkin sitting on some leaves, which we just got done drawing. So we'll have some good practice for those leaves later on. All right, so we've got our curving line that's open on the bottom. And then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to add the stem. So at the very top, you are going to make another curving line that just kind of curves over. Okay, it's almost like, well, I was going to say a C, but a C would be going in the opposite direction. So just making a curve that comes to the side. Now, our next curve, you're going to make along the other side. But what I want you to do is make it close at the top and then get wider as you get toward your pumpkin. So you're going to start kind of close and then it's going to get wider. Okay, see how it's wider down here than it is up here? Perfect. All right, and if yours doesn't look exactly like mine, don't worry about it. Every artwork is unique, and you're the artist, so make it your own. All right, so now that we've done that, we're going to make some more curving lines on the pumpkin itself. So the first thing I want you to do is notice how this side curves like this, like the letter C, okay? It's curving in this direction. We're going to make another line like that toward the center of our pumpkin. So I'm just going to make a line that kind of echoes or follows that same curve. Okay. Now we're going to come over to the other side and notice how this line curves in this direction. So I'm going to make a curve that curves in that direction, kind of like that. Perfect. It's already starting to look more round like a real pumpkin. Then you are going to make another curving line. So we're going to split right between the two and make another curve right about here. Again, it's following that same direction. And then we're going to switch over to the other side. So we're going to come over here and curve it again. Perfect. Now sometimes, because I want my pumpkin to look a little bit rounder, then I come in and I actually add one to the outside. But that's just if you want to. So I'm just going to add on mine to make it look a little bit wider and rounder. And I think I like the way it looks, so I'm going to stop right there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is this is where our leaves come in. So last week we talked a lot about leaves, and this time, instead of starting with the stems, we're actually just going to create the shape of the leaf. So we're just going to make a simple leaf shape. So it kind of looks like, I don't know, almost like the shape of your eye or the shape of an almond maybe. I'm going to make a leaf there. And again, if you aren't making your leaves right where I'm making them, that is no big deal. You need to make your artwork your own. So just put them wherever you think they would look right. So I'm going to make another leaf sort of pointing in this direction, maybe one that's coming out here. And they're all going to look a little bit, you know, slightly different. Maybe I'll make one there, and then I'm going to make one that goes behind or is overlapped by that one. And then let's see, I think I'll make another one right here. And then maybe one that comes out to the side here. And maybe one down like this. Now I think it also would look cool if there was like a leaf or two sort of hanging out down here. I think I'll maybe make one here. And I think I like the way that looks. So now to make those leaves a little bit more realistic, I'm just going to come back and add in the stem or that main vein line and do it on the rest of them as well. Now I can come back and add just a little bit more detail, making these leaves look more realistic. So you can add the other veins. And you can spend even more time adding leaves if you'd like. That's totally up to you. And then I'm going to come back and add in just some grass. So I'm going to make some spiky looking lines here that just kind of come across. Not adding a whole lot of detail in there. I just want to make it look like it's sitting in the grass. And you know what? Now I'm realizing I forgot a very important part of my stem. Or my pumpkin, I should say, the stem. So I want to come back and add the texture lines or the lines to the stem. And so I'm just going to make some curving lines also on the stem to make it look more real. So now I think my drawing's done. Now from here, what you can do is you can go ahead and add color right away. One of the things that I like to do is when I'm creating an artwork that I know I'm going to color, I like to go over the lines with a marker. So what I did was to take a black marker and I just traced over the lines of my drawing. So you'll see I have one here that's all traced and ready to go. And now I'm going to begin adding color. So for this one, you know, obviously when you think about pumpkins, you think about orange. So I'm going to grab a couple of orange crayons, and I just happen to have my crayons without wrappers on hand. So I'm going to probably use those. I'm also going to grab some, you know, goldish colors to blend in, as well as, you know, maybe some yellow. And I know I have another crayon over here, just a regular crayon that I'm going to use. So what I like to do is right in the center of each of these marks that I made, the curving lines, I like to add some yellow. So the first thing I do is I kind of put a layer of yellow down. So I'm going to be blending some colors today while I'm coloring in. So I'm going to make a little row of yellow, and you'll notice I am using this crayon on the tip to color it in instead of on the side right now. So I'm just kind of going to show you a couple of coloring techniques here before I set you free on your own. So there's my yellow. I might even add a little bit of that. This is a little bit darker. It's like a kind of a goldish color that I have. So I'm just going to blend in. And this will give my pumpkin a little bit of texture too. Texture is really important in art. It's the way that something feels. So pumpkins are kind of smooth, but they also have some texture to them too. Like they've got some bumps. So now I'm going to take my orange and I'm going to start to add in the rest of the color. So I'm just going to come up toward the top and I'm going to blend right over the color that I just did. And this is a really, really bright orange. I might actually bring this one in too. This is more of a darker orange. So I'm just going to kind of color right over. And when I get close to the edges, I always slow myself down to make sure that I'm not going outside of my lines. So I'm going to show you in just this one section here. And I'm pressing down a little bit harder. When you press down harder with your crayon, you're going to get a darker color. And then again, I'm just going to blend right over that yellow. So now I'm getting this nice kind of variety of colors here, which makes it look a little bit more realistic. You can also come down to the leaves and blend some colors. So for example, you know, I might start out with a yellow, but then, you know, color using some green, and you're going to get a leaf that looks a little bit more like a fall leaf because it's started to kind of yellow. It's fallen off the trees, just like the leaves that we used last week. This leaf I'm going to make kind of orange. Maybe I'll even blend in, you know, a little bit of a reddish color here, okay, to make those leaves look very fall-like. Now, you can continue coloring each piece of this, okay? And then what I like to do too is when I'm coloring in a large area, you know, of like the grass here, I am going to use my crayon on its side instead of using the tip to create the grass, okay? And then in the sky, same thing. I'm going to use my crayon without wrapper to create my sky color and just kind of come around the whole pumpkin to create that. Now take a look. Here's my finished artwork after all those coloring techniques. And there you go. Now remember, you can use whatever coloring materials you'd like, and you can put your own spin on it. That's what art is all about, making it your own. I hope you enjoyed learning how to draw a pumpkin using lines and, you know, kind of play around with some of those coloring techniques. Next week, we'll come back together and use lines to make something else that is real. I'm really excited to start because we are going to start working on drawing animals next week. Have a great week, everyone. Take care. Can't wait to see your artwork.